All right, Islam. So, definition of improper persona, page 899. If you want to follow along, it says, improper persona, in one's own proper person. It is a rule in pleading that pleas to the jurisdiction of the court must be pled in propria persona, because if pleaded by attorney, they admit the jurisdiction, comma, as an attorney or attorney is an officer of the court, and he is presumed to plead after having obtained leave, which admits the jurisdiction. All right. So being in proper persona means to be in one's own proper person. All right. And oftentimes we use the phrase sui juris with it. And let me just hit that right quick. Just for those who may not know what I'm talking about. So sui juris, page 1602, Black's Law 4th edition. Of his own right, possessing full social and civil rights, not under any legal disability or the power of another or guardianship, having capacity to manage one's own affairs, not under legal disability to act for oneself. All right. Realize that if you walk around claiming to be a Negro, black, or colored, you're not a part of the human family, and 9 times out of 10, you're designated as dead in the eyes of the law, right? Because you're dealing, with color, right? And we'll just hit that right quick, just for the sake of the conversation. And it's been a while since I gave it to you guys, so just for review for most of you guys. Hold on. Islam, we're back. So a color, right? Page 331. Color, an appearance, semblance, or simulacrum, as distinguished from that which is real. So if you walk around calling yourself a Negro, black, or colored person, you're not even real, according to law. You're saying that you're not real. And that, by logic would lead a logical person to believe that there may be some form of incompetence there. And in terms of claiming to be in one's own proper person, in sui juris, you're not competent to handle your own affairs if you're saying that you're something that's not real. All right. In pleading, ground of action admitted to subsist in the opposite party by pleading one of the parties to an action which is so set out as to be apparently valid, but which is in reality legally insufficient. Right? A term of the ancient rhetoricians, and early adopted in the language of pleading, it was an apparent or prima facie right, and the meaning of the rule that pleadings in confession and avoidance should give color was that they should confess the matter adversely alleged to such an extent, at least as to admit some apparent right in the opposite party, which required to be encountered and avoided by the allegation of new matter. Color was either express, i.e. inserted in the pleading, or implied, which was naturally inherent in the structure of the pleading. So, whether or not you're colored is going to be express. Either you're going to outright say, oh, I'm a Negro, black, or colored. You're going to identify by that, or it can be implied through your actions. So even though you're claiming to be, an ill or a bay, with your words, your actions may indicate that you're still dealing with a colored mindset or dealing with, colorable processes, right? So when we jump down to color of law and color of authority says that semblance or presumption of authority sustaining the acts of a public officer which is derived from his apparent title to the office or from a writ or other process in his hands apparently. Color of law, moving on. The appearance or semblance without the substance of legal right. So when they're operating under the color of authority, pointing to things, statutes that would indicate a color of law, they just told you that they're not government. They just told you they're not operating based on the law. They're operating on the appearance or semblance without the substance of the legal right, which the law would give to those who are operating under it. All right, if you're operating in pro persona sua juris. So that's that. So moving forward, I want to read this from Addressing Misunderstandings of Purpose Concerning Sheikh Sharif Abdullah Ali or Noble Drew Ali, the Moorish Divine and National Movement. All right, and we're at page 15 at the bottom here where it says proper person status. Islam. So spiritual, the social, spiritual, political, and communal proper person status manifested by Moors learning to be themselves reveals very serious and impacting principles of right law sociology. The responsible civic concepts involved with that once lost, though honorable status quickly changes to the positive, the self-esteem of a repressed people. Let me read that again. The self-responsible civic concepts involved with that once lost, though honorable status quickly changes the self-esteem of a suppressed people. All right? When you come into your proper person, one thing it's going to do when you understand what it's really talking to and speaking to, it should, put you in a better mood, or raise your self-esteem if you've traditionally, historically been known to be suppressed. All right. Conjoin this to the moral and ethical, quote unquote, proper conduct, social initiatives, which the Prophet encouraged the people to, quote unquote, act upon. Now, the other thing that I need to get to and I need to emphasize at this point is that you can claim something, you can claim a right, but if you don't act upon it, then it's just like it doesn't exist. Or you can, think that you've claimed it in your mind, but if you don't claim it verbally, or you don't put it on paper, all right, you don't express it, you don't act on it, then it's limiting the right, or it's as if the right never existed at all. All right. So when we're making these statements, we're making these claims, we need to make sure that we can back them up with some proof. All right, not just our emotions and how we feel. All right. So keep going along, and I'm still on page 16 here. Social initiatives which the Prophet encouraged the people to act upon must be and should be made a commonly available public information source. His insightful moral, ethical, and enlightenment teachings and inviolate standards of national love should be made readily available to everyone. His active constitutional enforcement participation, which, pardon me, I had to say, why is it that I visit certain temples, or I visited a temple, and I tried to get a copy of the 101s because I just wanted, an original OG copy of the 101s. And they said, oh, no, you can only get it on Fridays. Then I asked myself, do the 101s have some kind of magical power that only gets activated on Fridays? Or does me accepting it on Friday mean something different in the grand scheme of things? And I can't come to any conclusion why it would. You guys in the comments maybe tell me something else, but I just don't understand why you're limiting access to the basic information. Like I couldn't buy this from the Moors until a Friday came about, And it's like they knew that I was visiting from out of town and wasn't going to be able to be there. So I think that was just their way of telling me no. So anyway, which, I've had this experience, and other Moors probably have had other experiences dealing with these dirty Moors that call themselves, grand sheiks and sheikesses and everything else under the sun. All right, we're back. So getting back into it, everyone would benefit from its exposure and be availed its fair distribution. However, we again present another caveat to progress. History and many redacted records have been revealed by the United States government and made available to any sincere researchers. They will show and reveal that a few subversive characters and persons had deceitfully presented themselves as being honorable and sincere members within the Moorish temples, but in fact had other less than honorable agendas. Thereby, and check out the Mukarrabin files by the FBI's investigation on the Moorish Nationals of America if you want to, get more information. Thereby, some successfully gained positions of authority and power within the Moorish movement. A few of these traitorous, disingenuous, and selfish persons set about their assigned work and design intent of, quote, slowing down and neutralizing the Moorish divine and national movement. Noble Drew Ali spoke of these troubles and the persons initiating them early on and wrote a public notice letter which he proclaimed to be read to all members of the temples before every meeting. When one has a reasonable degree of knowledge of the progressive development of the Moorish movement, one is more qualified to present a valid defense for it. Therefore, let it be so noted that all scholars, followers, supporters, and adherents to Noble Drew Ali's teaching should be familiar with and move to attention with the revelations of this historical letter. If a large number of scholars, historians, adepts, sheiks, or members of the Moorish temples were not or are not familiar with this important part of Moorish history, and many are not, then something is seriously wrong with their sources of instructions and the person's allotted responsibilities in those areas. If an absence of familiarity and knowledge be the case about this letter, then my counterpoint, which is made to expose the opposition to such revelations, shall be vindicated. The following is a type copy of Noble Drew Ali's unsettling and revealing letter. It is presented for study and for analysis by all Moorish Americans, etc. All right. And subsequently on the next page, 17, it says, and I'm just reading the top here, Moorish Science Temple of America, Home Office, 3603 Indiana Avenue. Noble Drew Ali, founder, Chicago, Illinois, January 18th, 1929. To be proclaimed in every meeting. I am glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth, that there is a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation that claim it was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only salvation, the only soul foundation, S-O-U-L foundation, that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens. They are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they themselves may take charge of the situation. It's the same thing going on right there. Right here today. You got Moors everywhere. All the social media that you can think of. Working every scheme that they can in an attempt to disqualify those active Moors who are following the Prophet so that they themselves may take charge of this movement, and the situation at hand, which, for them it wouldn't be a movement. It would be dead at that point if it was in their hands. But, I digress. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that contribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that paid their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I am calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine movement. I need finance, and I need it bad. Never before have I needed finance as badly as I do at present, that I may shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without me, the prophet, being the head. It has been proven by my work, in which I have performed in the last few months, because I was at the governor's inauguration to represent the Moorish Divine and National Movement, and I will be at the inauguration of President Hoover for the same cause. Noble Drew Ali. Right, and just finishing up this section, says, upon reading and analyzing the foresaid letter and filtering through the many other sources of other credible Moorish literature and information, we are enabled to see the serious internal problems Noble Drew Ali was faced with in the mid to late 1920s. Notice that the date of the letter is January 18th, 1929. His mission was being undermined and diverted by infiltrators, forcing him to make changes and compelling him to reorganize to deal with thieves, traitors, and subversives within the Moorish movement. This becomes discomfortingly and clearly apparent. In social engineering war games, distraction and confusion are common strategy methods used by infiltrators and disruptors. And notice what we have happening recently. Distractions and confusion. And mentionings of distractions and confusion all abound still to this day in 2018 Christian calendar year, 1429 Moorish calendar year. If I'm wrong, correct me. These are used to interpret or stagnate the progress and unity of a freedom-oriented organization. Islam. And hitting some other points, of reference and the note, to make note. So this is coming, these are part of the oral written statements, and this is administrative functions, right? Page 30. Help me to save my people who have fallen away. These are all from the Prophet, Noble Ali. Help me to save my people who have fallen away from the constitutional laws of government. I am depending on your support to get them back into the constitutional fold again, that they will learn to love instead of hate and will live according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, supporting our free national constitution of the United States of America. All right, the next one goes on to say, these are trying hours, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving now. They are trying every weak mind to tear down and drag out the true foundation which has been laid by me, the prophet. But if you have love of Allah in your hearts and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear nothing you hear or see, but will sacrifice to the utmost of your very life to protect your prophet and your movement. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sins. All right. Ask these dirty Moors about the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, right? Ask them about the old Canaanite temple and see what they say, right? Because that goes to the heart of the foundation of what the prophet laid down. It does. Because if you look chronologically, it happened before the name change and the whole corporatizing of things, right? And realize that the prophet was forced to make changes because he had to deal with all the thieves and backbiters and the dirty Moors that he saw and had to recognize at that point that were acting subversive to the movement, all right, and acting against the interest of the movement and the people. Islam. And like today, we're going to be forced to make some changes soon enough, if we haven't already. But I digress. Anyway, all true Moors, and this is the next one, all true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. Islam. The greatest weapon in the hands of our group today in America is our press. Where's the press, people? Where's the papers that these temples are supposed to be putting out? Show them to me, please. I need to know where they are. And how often do they put them out? What's the availability? Do you have to be a member to get them? Or can anybody get them? The NOI, they sell papers out on the street to everybody. The final call. And the funny thing about NOI, even though, if you follow the history and you find out that the original NOI temple was a Moorish Symbol of America, and it still had the name on it before they changed it and all the rest of that type stuff. But even in that regard, they're carrying out the prophet's work by maintaining a press and a paper that the people have access to. But I digress. The truth will never be told about a disadvantaged minority by the general press of any country, whether that minority be racial, political, or religious. Unless we express ourselves through papers of our own, the truth about us will not be told. Our papers are our only hope of shoveling ourselves out from under the avalanche of lies that are annually let loose upon us. A strong free press is the best possible safeguard of the liberties in general promotion and defense of the interest of a strong free people. Islam. And jumping forward, the voice of the prophet, right? We'll read caveat emptor for a later class. If you have race pride and love your race, or I might back up and read it. If you have race pride and love your race, join the Moorish Symbol of America and become a part of this divine movement. Then you will have power to redeem your race because you will know who you are and who your forefathers were. Because where there is unity, there is strength. Together we stand, divided we fall. Come, good people, because I, the prophet sent to redeem this nation from mental slavery, which you have now, need every one of you who think that your condition can be better. This is a field open to strong men and women to uplift the nation and take your place in the affairs of men. If the Europeans and other nations are helping me, why not you? It is your problem. The Negro problem is being solved only as it can, and that is by the Moorish Divine and National Movement. If you have a nation, you must have a free national name in order to be recognized by this nation as an American citizen. This is what was meant when it was asked, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all these things will be added unto you. Islam. Moving on, the next one says, in the promotion of plans for the betterment of mankind, there has ever been some kind of opposition. And strange as it may seem, such opposition has come from sources where there was no ideas, or where there was a lack of courage to force attention to ideas. Whether in church, state, or the social community, any attempt to do anything out of the usual way seldom fails to receive criticism. And to that point, I just want to say Consular Court. Like, what are you guys talking about? What are you talking about? We'll hit on that later, but come on now. Where's your backbone? Where's your attention to ideas? All right, where's your courage to bring attention to ideas? All right, they may have been forgotten or suppressed by other dirty Moors. Like, why continue this oppression in ignorance and sin when you could be an agent for change, instead of an agent for the FBI or the CIA or the NSA? Follow me? There's so many other things you could be doing with your time, rather than separating the people from the truth and distracting them with your distractions and confusion, just outright confusion. One thing I want to hit on, and this is coming from bringing the people back into the constitutional fold of government, includes a review of FBI investigation of the Moorish Symbol of America. All right. Page 14. The failure to erect schools. Aside from Sunday school and Friday night public meetings, one of the obvious disobedience to the prophet's instructions is the failure to erect schools as a part of the temple. This was deliberate and calculated, and is one of the greatest mistakes of failing to carry out the prophet's programs. Pardon me. He instructed the erection of schools for a very, very good reason. These schools were to be instituted apart or aside from the Sunday school and the Friday night meetings as an institution unto itself to reduce the conflict of interest found in the corporate state public schools, which does not teach proper civics, i.e., because of the Rockefeller General Education Board and their programs and their directed, instituted mission of dumbing down the public. All right, in Al Morocco, aka America, as it's modernly known, or the Al Maghrib. These schools were to be instituted apart or aside from the Sunday school and the Friday night meetings as an institution unto itself to reduce the conflict of interest found in the corporate state public schools, which does not teach proper civics, history, culture, or ancient principles. Islam. Of the forefathers and mothers, the children suffer greatly for this today, as they are rebelling against the lies told in the school systems and are being labeled and classified as needing quote-unquote alternative classes. Islam. And we're back and we're reading the failure to erect schools here on page 15 and bringing people back into the constitutional fold of government. All right. Which is improper. However, it is being administered as if there is something wrong with the children when in fact it is not. Most of them are very bright. And mind you, check out the research and the information that's come out recently talking about how Ritalin and all of these psychotropic drugs they get these children on at young ages to try to control their behavior or modify their behavior is akin to, in like stuff like Adderall, right? It's akin to heroin and speed, all right? So you got school nurses doping their children up on 8 balls, you know, like they was snorting cocaine and stuff, and then they, you know, they get drugged up and now they're calm and sedated, all right? And really all they needed was maybe a little meditation, maybe some food in their stomach, you know, or maybe to be taught the truth. But, you know, I digress. It is something wrong with the school systems for lying to them and the parents for allowing it to happen. The truth is more that their souls are rebuking the lies. They intend to stand in the truth, and they are like honing devices that are very sensitive to being lied to. One of the poor excuses given by the remiss or Ramaz leadership is that they must stick to the religious articles. While this is true, and this is what they typically say, they got to stick to religious edicts of the temple and everything. While this is true, particularly in the Sunday school and the Friday night meetings, which are both standard public meetings, it does not negate or eliminate the instruction of erecting schools for additional studies as the prophet instructed. Therefore, this is not my or anyone's mere opinion. This ain't Nun Nagi's opinion. This ain't, you know, Ras Mariah V. Bay's opinion. This ain't Tashri Bay's opinion. This is coming from the work of the prophet, all right? This is fact. If they have not and are not able to erect institutions of learning separately, there are 7 days in a week. They could choose from the remaining 5 days and have classes right there in the temple itself. The prophet emphasized greatly, quote, to study, and study some more. And when you have studied well and asked me what to study next, I would reply, study yourselves. He also said to sit in every hall of learning. Yet, when one does, often the Ramaz leadership, by design of the corruption and suppression, accuses them of having too much information, a sure sign of an oppressor. Moving on, it says, the lack of the schools is a great disservice to the people and to the movement, and a blatant disregard of the prophet's instructions. It is what is needed and what, quote unquote, the people are searching for today, right now. And they're asking the classes, and this is what I've gotten in the emails too. You know, where can I go to class? Or, you know, are there classes here in my area? Are there classes there? You know, and in various instances, I have to tell them, no, there is no temple. And then I have to, you know, try to explain why. But, you know, we already know the subversion in the movement and so on and so forth. So it's really nothing new. This is nothing. I'm not telling, Nun Nagi is not telling you nothing you don't already know or you shouldn't already be aware of. All right? I'm just reminding people who seem to act like they forgot what the problem was. They want to point fingers at everywhere else. But when you point a finger, you typically got about 3 pointing back at you when you're pointing. Right? But I digress. Where are we? Where can I go to class is their common and repeated non-failing question, as they are aligned with the spirit of the age of information, just as the prophet predicted in this electrifying age, or the age of Aquarius. All right. In fact, the general masses considered unknowing are more in line with the prophet's prophecies than those who profess to be the defenders and upholders of the prophet's instructions. They must observe this untoward, denying and ignoring faction from the possibility that their point of view is incubated from the corruption and is/was one of the purposes of the infiltration. All right. So when we see in some of this confusion and these people coming out here pointing confusion and creating confusion, realize that that is the whole point of infiltrating the movement, so that they could do that. So they could claim a position of authority, so they could wear the turban or the fez, right? Look the part, dress it up, all right? And make those on the outside think that what they're doing is the way it's supposed to be. And then when they accuse other Moors, active Moors, not passive Moors, of doing what they do, moving the movement forward and carrying out the instructions of the prophet, we catch flack, you know, or we get trolls and haters that want to make whole, you know, hours and hour-long videos bitching and moaning, and I'll say it again, bitching and moaning about stuff that they did not get up off their ass and do themselves. How about that? So, moving forward, they must observe this untoward, denying and ignoring faction from the possibility that their point of view is incubated from the corruption and was one of the purposes of the infiltration. The fact and the point is that there ought to have been schools, and there still is a need. There still is a need in 2018 going forward for schools. If schools were in place, the need for schools would not still be an issue and a current problem. I also get the response from Ramai's leadership that the history, heritage, lineage is taught in the 101 questionnaire. It must be made clear that history, heritage, lineage is referenced in the 101s as a reference point for further study. That's why we go over the 101s all the time, to remind Moors of those reference points. But I digress. The same goes for astrology. It is Moorish culture, it is science, and Moors are scientists, aren't they? Right? Speaking to astrology. In fact, and without doubt, Moorish science is cosmology. If one is aware of this and the fact that astrology / cosmology is referenced throughout the literature, then clearly it too has already been sanctioned as a tool of further study. Yet some temple leaders actually question whether it ought to be taught in the temples. And some ignorantly say it ought not and is not a part of the prophet's program. Yet it too is referenced in Circle 7 as a point of further study. All right? The whole world utilizes it, talking about astrology and cosmology. Even the Iron Hand oppressors utilize it to oppress the Moors. This is an obvious lack of true understanding and on the part of those remised leaders, or remissed leaders. This is the age of electronics, the electrifying age of information, wherein information moves very quickly. Get with the times, guys. The standard literature, the 101s, the Circle 7 Quran, and the compilation of other written treatises, commonly referred to as the Moorish literature, are all on the internet today. The people's eyes are opening from gaining information from that source alone. The prophet knew this would occur and said so. I wonder why it is so difficult for those who say they uphold his works to recognize, acknowledge, and accept this. I know their intention is to be honorable and protect the prophet and the temple. And, we acknowledge that too. We understand their intention is to protect the temple and the works of the prophet. And that's completely honorable. We respect that. All right. Yet, they seem to not recognize that the prophet himself has returned, and it is he who is cleaning up the temples, just as he said he would. Why aren't they? All right. So, moving forward, I want to hit a couple of last minute things. All right. And it's real short. This chapter right here, this chapter 30 coming out of the Circle 7, and I'm actually reading out of Truth About Your Birthrights Resurgence Edition. Right? Check it out. And I'm on page 35 here. Now, before it says, of chapter 30, Holy Instructions from the Prophet, the Social Duties. Chapter 30 deals with the civic duties of the citizens / members of a civilized society. And we'll be getting more into this unity piece here as we go forward. But I just want to, throw this out there and put it on the record for a basis, for a foundation for future conversations. All right, deals with a civilized, so chapter 30 deals with the civic duties of the citizens / members of a civilized society and explains the reason for organized government and the reasons that one should have a greater appreciation for government. Moors are the founders of organized society, civilization, and should be cognizant of those things necessary to become better citizens. These lessons of law, order, and governmental principles are a part of the instructions given and to be practiced within the Moorish Science Temple of America, etc. Chapter 30, Holy Instruction from the Prophet, the Social Duties. 1. When thou considerest thy wants, when thou beholdest thy imperfections, acknowledge his goodness, O Son of Humanity, who honored thee with humanity, endowed thee with speech, and placed thee in society to receive and confer reciprocal helps and mutual obligations, protections from injuries, thy enjoyments of the comforts and the pleasures of life. All these thou owest to the assistance of others, and couldst not enjoy but in the bands of society. All right. And y'all make sure, for those who don't know, look up the word receive and confer, as well as reciprocal. All right. Get that on your dial plate. Surah 2, it is thy duty, therefore, to be a friend to mankind, as it is thy interest that man should be friendly to thee. Surah 3, as the rose beneath sweetness. All right, pardon me. We're back. Surah 3, as the rose breatheth sweetness from its own nature, so the heart of a benevolent man produceth good works. Islam 4, just look at their works. Just, you know, and it tells you that in the biblical heliotext. Look at the fruits of the vine, you know. And a good fruit doesn't bear bad fruit. A good tree doesn't bear bad fruit. You know, a healthy tree or a healthy vine doesn't bear bad fruit. But I digress. 4, he enjoyeth the ease and tranquility of his own breast, and rejoiceth in the happiness and prosperity of his neighbor. 5, he openeth not his ear unto slander. The faults and failings of men give a pain to his heart. 6, his desire is to do good, and he researcheth out the occasions thereof. In removing the oppression of another, he relieveth himself. 7, from the largeness of his mind, he comprehendeth in his wishes the happiness of all men. And from the generosity of his heart, he endeavoreth to promote it. Islam. So, you know, I'll just leave y'all with that for now, and in future conversations, we'll unpack that a little bit more. But if you've got any questions or comments or concerns about anything we've covered today, please feel free to reach out. Send us an email at fezprovinceregency at fezprovince@gmail.org, or visit us at fezprovinceregency.org. .gmail.com, pardon me. And, you know, get us in the comment section. You know, leave us a comment or a statement that lets me know that you got something out of this. That's what I want to see from y'all this time. You know, if you've got any questions, email them. Don't leave them in the comments. I know I've been saying put them in the comments, but don't put them in the comments. Put the questions in an email it to us, and then we'll get to it in the next class. All right. But, you know, just to close out, we're going to close with the Moorish American prayer, and then I'll just say some closing remarks going forward, and kind of give y'all some housekeeping, and we'll be out of here. All right. So, standing facing the east, feet at a 45-degree angle, 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Ameen. Ameen, more. So, just to kind of clear up some things and take care of some housekeeping, because I've been getting this question or these questions a lot lately. All right, so if you want to learn how to get nationalized, you want to know what to do to nationalize, right now, I would say go to Moorish or fezprovinceregency.org. All right. Go to the Being Ourselves tab at the top, and in that first or second section, you'll see some downloads that talk about the named judicial proclamations. All right. That's going to be step numero uno for all of you guys, you know, wanting to know what to do in terms of the paperwork and everything, because most of this is really about your mindset and your mental. So just keep in mind, study throughout the whole process. Right? Study. When you ask what to study next, I would say study yourselves. All right? So we're talking about the named judicial proclamation. Study that. You know, pull up all those documents that it's referencing. Print them out if you got to. Read those documents. Study those documents. You know, find whatever associated documents you can find or related documents you can find just in your research, just to help, you know, boost your knowledge base. All right? Or bolster it. And then you want to do the same thing with the judicial proclamation. And y'all, you know, you can do this in 6 days. I'll say 6 days, because on day 1, you could read, you know, 1. The second day you research it. Third day you review. Then you move on to the next document. That day you read it, you know, read it 3 times. How many other times? 3, 4 times. Then that next day you know, research it. You take notes on whatever it is you don't know, or, you know, you look up definitions, get your glossary together, right? Oh, and this is one thing. Pardon me while I say this. If you're studying, right, start making notes, or in your notes, start creating a glossary of words. So any word that you come across that you don't know, you put it in your glossary and then you look it up, right? Do the definitions on it, do the etymon on it, and put that in your glossary, all right? And then you'll have, when you look up after a while, you'll have a study tool of words you can go through, and you can just teach off of that, for yourself or others, right? Just some ideas, just a thought. But, just getting into study skills here. Take that first day to read it, go through it, get it down, read it 3-4 times or whatever. Then the second day, review it, research it, look up everything that it's talking about, look up all the words and all that good stuff, right? Third day, you want to review what you read the first day and what you came up with your notes, and you want to synthesize, all right, or analyze that information into a brief, all right? And it could be a short paragraph, it could be a page if you're feeling, talkative, but synthesize it into a short brief and see if you can condense that information based on your understanding using your language, all right? And this will be an exercise that we'll apply to other things going forward, when we talk about other topics of research and other points of interest. But that will be step one, and then once you get your witnesses, or if you can't get any witnesses update on that, you can send it in and we'll do that for you, or we'll get that done for you rather. But you'll fill it out. Make sure that you correct the dates on there. Make sure that you type in, the all caps name where it needs to be, or the straw man or the cognomen where it needs to be, and then you make sure you put your title, Il or Bay, and please no hyphens. I know, some of you guys have read The Exhuming of a Nation, and Elihu Pleasant Bay's book, and he was talking about the hyphens or whatever, but hyphen means annexation, right? And that basically means that you're saying that you're not originally a Moor, that you're being adopted, that you'd be an Al or a Day, right? We're Ils and Bays for the record, and this is bloodline, this is birthright, we're not adopted into the family, we are the family. Islam, for all my Asiatics that may be confused on that point. Some other things too I need to cover or let you guys know. When you get it sealed or whatever, if you're trying to get it sealed by us, you would go to the store and then go to the name declaration or / judicial proclamation tab, and then you put your donation in through there. And then once we receive confirmation on our end that that's been taken care of, you'll get the email, letting you know where to mail your paperwork to, because we've got 2 different regencies, all right, as it stands, and we may have more as we get more responses. But to the consular court piece, we need at a minimum 24 jurors. That's 23 with 1 alternate to be able to have a grand jury, all right. And then for a petty jury, we don't need as many, but we need the responses to be mailed to fezprovince@gmail.org. All right, if you are participating in the consular court, and if you're doing that. I have gotten some good responses recently and some not so good responses recently, but keep them coming anyway. And for those who want to finish that process, we can get that sealed for you too as well. And there's a tab on the store for that as well. So check that out. If you're worried about next steps or you're trying to figure out what to do next. And we're gonna have some more stuff going forward to kind of educate you guys and to take it to the next level. But I'm really emphasizing the response on these consular court questions, because if you don't cheat yourself by just copy and pasting the answers, or listen to all these other Moors who are just making videos and giving you answers, you will teach yourself and walk yourself through a lot of the questions that you guys have when it comes to oh, how do I file this, or where do I file that? What jurisdiction does this fall under? What does that fall under? All right. And I just want to reiterate this too for the record. As Moors, all right, when you're talking about legal and lawful processes, most of the time we're dealing with the county or the state, and we should be dealing with the federal. And the reason being, we're dealing with Article 6. Diversity of citizenship. All right. I'm trying to find where I put it. We're dealing with the Constitution. All right. And I just want to read this for you guys on the record. And this is part of the housekeeping. And I shouldn't have to read this, but apparently I do. So this should help a lot of you guys who've been getting the runaround with the clerks or your county clerks just telling you, oh, we don't recognize this, we don't, which I had one sister in Texas territory, Texas Republic, hit me up, and she was like, oh, the clerks told her that they don't recognize the government that she's giving the documents to. She was trying to put her name judicial proclamation on record, and I told her sister, I was like, yo, recognize what they said. They said they don't recognize the government. They said it was a government. So they already capitulated on that part. Now the point of them saying they don't recognize it, I said, did you show them Resolution 75? She said, I showed it to them. I was like, all right, did you show them this? And she said, all right, put it in your writs. Don't just show them the documents. Reference them in your writs. Make quotes if you got to. But put this in your writs as well and on your dial plate. And this should help a lot of you guys if you really understand what I'm saying here. Article 4, Section 4 from the Constitution, all right, for the United States of America states, Article 4, Section 1 states, full faith and credit, and this is known as the full faith and credit clause for those who already know, full faith and credit shall be given in each state, to the public acts, Resolution 75, records, formal, court records, and judicial proceedings of every other state. All right. Now, we can unpack this a little bit more, and I'll get to it later. I'm going to save this for later. And the Congress may, by general laws, prescribe the manner in which such acts, records, and proceedings shall be proved, and the effect thereof. I'm going to read it again. I know I gave some commentary there. Article 4, Section 1 of the Constitution says, full faith and credit shall be given in each state to the public acts, records, and judicial proceedings. That's three different things. Three different sources of information that you could pull from, active Moors, to prove your point. Of every other state. So that's every other state or quote unquote territory other than what you're dealing with, that this applies to, that you could look to as a reference point. Right? Resolution 75 is Pennsylvania. That was done in Pennsylvania at Philadelphia. This sister's in Texas. Under Article 4, Section 1 of the Full Faith and Credit Clause, Resolution 75 in Pennsylvania applies in Texas as law because it was a public act. All right? Public record. All right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Let me know. And then I want to read this other article, which one of my favorite articles of the Constitution, Article 6. Oh, let me back up. Within Article 4, and let's jump down to Section 4. The United States shall guarantee to every state in this union, a republican form of government. Didn't say democracy, right? It didn't say a communist, or a dictatorship. It said a republican form of government, and shall protect each of them against invasion and on application of legislature or of the executive when the legislature cannot be convened against domestic violence. I'm going to read it again. Article 4, Section 4. The United States shall guarantee, it's already been settled that this is supposed to be enforced. All right? And if individuals claiming to be the United States are not acting upon this guarantee, then we have another problem. And we'll get to that in later classes. All right? Or you can go back to past classes where we've talked about it before, but we'll unpack that a little bit more later on moving forward. All right? Let me read it again from the top. The Section 4, Article 4, Section 4 now. I'm at page 42 of Administrative Functions. The United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a republican form of government and shall protect each of them against invasion and on application of the legislature or of the executive when the legislature cannot be convened against domestic violence. All right? And if Asiatics aren't experiencing domestic violence, I don't know what we're dealing with. But I digress. Article 6, all debts, contracted, and engagements entered into before the adoption of this Constitution. Mind you, keep in mind they said right there that they adopted the Constitution. They didn't draft it. They didn't write it. They adopted it. That's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. All right, whole nother class. Shall be as valid against the United States under this Constitution as under the Confederation. This Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made, or which shall be made under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land. All right, let me back up and read that again, just for the record. This Constitution and the laws, that means everything under the Constitution. That's all the articles, all the statutes, all the, the commandments from God, that you want to say are part of the Constitution and stuff. All the Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties, treaty of peace and friendship, or which shall be made under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary, notwithstanding. Notwithstanding, meaning it has no standing under the law. All right? Or is outside of the law. So those who are acting against the interests of the Constitution or against the interests of the treaties under Article 6, they are outlaws and are not government. They're not acting as government at that point. All right? And all the way down to your private corporations. They have to follow the laws of the land just as much as the government does. In fact, more than the government does. Because they have to pay taxes to the government. Correct? So how is it that any private or public corporation could claim to be a taxing authority of the state? All right? And mind you, and I'll show you guys in future classes how, there's laws and there's statutes or whatever on the books for all of these various states that state that they have to honor the non-obligatory tax status of Asiatics and Indians everywhere. And you can even look at the Buck Act, which Taj was talking about in the last class we put up. There's a section in there that speaks to Indians not being taxed. We know Indians is a misnomer, and Indians truly come from India, and they're really talking about the Asiatics or the Moors. But that all falls in line. And let me back up with Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3. All right, where it states, representatives and direct taxes shall be apportioned among the several states, which may be included within this union, according to their respective numbers, which shall be determined by adding the whole number of free persons. Now, mind you, free persons. We talked about improper persona, sui juris, and we talk about nationality and birthrights, And we know that this was written during the time of slavery, so there is a distinction to be made here. But anyway, we'll unpack that later. If you got questions about it, send us an email, including those bound to service for a term of years and excluding Indians not taxed, 3/5 of all other persons. All right. So with that, I just wanted to put those points on the record, and I just want to, again, thank you guys for checking us out. Thank you for visiting the page. Thank you for visiting the website. However you're watching this, thank you. If you're watching this on DVD, thank you for purchasing the DVD. And your donations will go to work. it will go to a good cause. We will ensure of that. But I just wanted to make sure that you guys were clear on some things, because I do get a lot of questions from you guys and emails about stuff that we've already covered. And we got to reiterate it. I know it becomes redundant for a lot of you who are paying attention, but we have to keep reiterating it, redundantly, so that until it, we got to hammer the truth in and make it plain across all parts. All right. So until everybody gets it, we'll keep hitting the same stuff. But that's it for this week or today. And happy Easter or April Fools if you're doing all of that good stuff, in honor and respect to those who still may call themselves Christians, good Christians. And the prophet said some of my best morals are still in the church. Some of my best morals are still in the church, and I do believe that that's true. But without further ado, I want to let you guys go on, so peace and love, peace and love, peace and love. See y'all next time. Same bad channel. Islam.